This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
The thing I would love to leave listeners with is the idea that they really create life. We're all co-creators in this experience. And what you want to do is you want to live life on your terms. Create life on your terms. Because what ends up happening is society will create all of these rules. They'll create this box that we're supposed to live within to be okay. But it ends up being limitations, okay? You don't want a box. What I like to say is understand your spiritual experience, understand your human experience from a spiritual foundation, and you actually build a foundation that you can start to build on. So you're not living in somebody's box. You're building from a foundation where you can expand. You are a seed of the infinite that can expand infinitely. Create life on your terms, live life through your joy. That's the bottom line.
Hello, happy Monday. Hope it is marvelous and magical. Today's guest is Reginald Martin. He is a spiritual architect, metaphysician, and creator of Kametaphysics, the science of ontology for identity transformation and spiritual sovereignty. His work reveals how hidden operating systems like religion, culture, family, even leadership scripts quietly shape our sense of worth. At the center is paradoxical Heka, a master protocol that integrates inner conflict through breath, voice, energy, and symbolism. For therapists, psychologists, and coaches, Kametaphysics does not replace their methods, it reconnects them to the ancient foundation beneath modern practice, offering a way to accelerate and deepen transformation. In moments, not years, he shows how sovereignty becomes the foundation of lasting transformation. I really, really, really enjoyed this conversation with Reginald. Very good vibes. We were very aligned. I love the work that he's doing. I certainly took away this Trinity that he talks about. I really, I liked it. I've used it. It works. You know it's working because you get a little body chill when you're doing it. And it just, really good stuff. And I will make sure to include links to his website, his YouTube, and his Substack. And I will do that. And I think that is all. Hope everybody is doing well. And please be patient with ads. If you hate the ads, feel free to go join Patreon, where you can get ad-free episodes. It would be really cool if you would just join Patreon anyway, even just for the $3 subscription, because that supports the show and our mission. No pressure if you don't want to, but I would love if you did. Also, don't forget that my other podcast with Angie Hawkins is airing Tuesday, October 7th at noon Central Standard Time. Unquiet Soul. It's going to be super fun. I'm very excited. Look out for that. Just took a nap, so my brain's not working great, so I'm not going to keep talking, but love you guys, and glad you're here. I appreciate every listen more than you will ever know. Here's me and Reginald.
Emotionally unavailable.
Okay, well, it's very nice to meet you. Reginald, is that how you say your name?
Yes.
Okay. So usually how I do things is I'll look at your profile again the morning that we record, and then I get like this nice little starting point based off what I've read. But every now and then, between the fact that sometimes my brain is tired and a person's profile sparks a lot, I have a hard time with a jumping point. So that's where I find myself today, no matter how many times I've read your profile, because every time I see something different, and it's very exciting. It's a good thing. But I just have a feeling nothing about this conversation is going to be super succinct. I'm glad to hear you're a go with the flow kind of guy, because I feel like that's what we're going to have to do today, because I am very organic and I don't want to just rely on the questions that, we put on there as guests, but you are doing some really cool stuff, and it just like I'm excited to learn from you. But first, the thing that I felt really pulled to ask first is, how did you get so into the metaphysical world?
Um, let's see. For me, and it's Melissa or Melissa.
Melissa.
Melissa. Okay, Melissa. It is a work of me having to develop myself and taking a lot of these ideas that I learned. So I come from a metaphysical background, but I'm one
Okay.
of those people that I ask questions why.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why is this? If you tell me I'm supposed to meditate, okay, why? What does it do? You know? And if you can't explain it to me, then you're suspect, is if do you know what you're really talking about and does it really have an impact on me? Because it should be measurable in some kind of way.
Yeah.
So I'm coming from that background, and a lot of times I got really frustrated with a lot of these spiritual ideas that people would talk about, but they really had no practical meaning. Okay, so when I'm going through my difficulties, like I would say after I divorced, okay, and I would start dating, okay, and years after, I'm trying to heal myself and I would notice some things. And what I noticed is, Melissa, is that I would date different women, but I noticed that there were a lot of similarities in how the relationship would end up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that started some questions because I'm thinking about in a way like either these women have gotten together and conspired, all these women that don't know each other
Yeah.
gotten together and conspired to treat me the same way, or me being the common denominator, there is some connection and link to it. And because I'm the common denominator, then that's it. So why is that? And so I watched the movie The Secret around 2006, and
Mm-hmm.
it said thoughts become things. And that was the first time I heard that in a succinct way like that. And that just like set my antenna up. And so what I started to recognize was that my belief system, my thoughts, and what I call beliefs, they're just thoughts imbued with imagination and emotion. Okay, over a long period of time, it's habitual. My thoughts and my beliefs started to dictate who I was even attracted to and why I was attracted to them. So if I couldn't if I was attracted to a certain person, then there had to be something in me that triggered the attraction, and that's the common denominator. And it was my lack of belief in my valueness, I guess, or how valuable I was in a person's life that was causing me to choose women who were emotionally needy. Okay. So to make a long story short, that started my path to finding out like practical knowledge and application connected to metaphysical philosophy in a way. So thoughts become things. I started backtracking to why is that? Why did my thoughts and beliefs basically end up being mirrored in these women? So that's where that started the foundation of the things that I do now.
I love that. I wonder if you started to see the same things in just your everyday interpersonal relationships as well. Because that was the
Oh,
connection I
absolutely.
made, was like, wait a second, this is not just men. This is every person in my
Yes.
life. They're
Yes.
all the same person.
Yes. Well, and even if they're not the same person, there are going to be certain things based around your beliefs of how you interact with your family, how you might
Mm-hmm.
interact with a business partner, how you might interact with other people on your job. All of these are like compartments that you have beliefs around, and you're going to have a frame that you're set in depending on what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you might have a frame around family, okay, that you have a certain number of beliefs about. You might have a frame around your job that you have a certain number of beliefs about. You might have a certain frame around the people on your job that you in, but you have a belief system framed that ends up creating your interaction. But from a metaphysics perspective, these are reflections of your inner vibrational essence. They're showing you who you are.
Yeah, and this is why I'm so excited that you're bringing the actual science to this conversation because I don't have a problem with people not necessarily having a source cuz I'm that person a lot of times where I'm like, I don't know.
At 1-800-Flowers.com, we know that connections are at the heart of being human. Whether celebrating life's joys or comforting during tough times, 1-800-Flowers helps you express what words can't. For nearly 50 years, millions have trusted 1-800-Flowers to deliver thoughtful gifts that help create lasting bonds. Because it's more than just a gift. It's your way of showing you care. Visit 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast and connect today. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
I just felt it and it is what it is for me. You figure out for you or even I hear a concept and I go, "Okay, I'm just going to test this." Cuz actually I had heard vaguely about this mirroring concept. And so I was like, I'm going to just test it. I'm going to test it on every single person in my life. Like, I'm going to wait until something they do really agitates the hell out of me. And then I'm going to figure out how that's actually mirroring something about me that I don't like. And that was one of the ways that I started to see why I was calling in a certain type of person into my life. But it's also, just as a side note, I think that's like the most key element of this human experience, I think, is getting to the point where you can see yourself in everyone and see
Mm-hmm.
everyone in you. And just
Yep.
that connection that you feel to humanity itself when you do that. And that's why it was really important to me to start being like, okay, well, I'm really upset at everyone. So what am I upset at myself about? And I mean, figuring out you're the problem,
Yep.
it's not fun. It's not fun, but God, there's so much freedom in that versus
It
the
really is
victim
so much
mindset.
empowerment. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. You said it. It's more freedom and empowerment rather than the victim mindset. This is where the idea of life happens through you, not to you.
Ooh, I
Okay?
have not heard that one through you.
Life
'Cause I've been
happens
doing
through
the
you.
for me, not to me, but through me. Wow, that's even more empowering. Cause even
Yeah.
for me can lend itself a little bit to some victimness if you're not careful. Like, "This really sucks, but I guess it's happening for me." And I mean, like, I've said that before, and there is a way to say that in a more empowered way, but damn, saying through
Yeah.
you is way more empowering.
Yeah, and this is the other thing, Melissa, is that it's more about, because sometimes we can get into these what we call the positive toxicity type
Mhm.
deal. And how I define that is that you can be so positive that you're not really dealing with that shadow side. So you're bypassing it is what's
Mhm.
happening. And that's what we can do when we do make those positive affirmations and we haven't really dealt with the shadow side of what we're dealing with. Okay. So a lot of times we get into the mode of we're trying to overcome the shadow, we're trying to fix the shadow, and we're trying to do these things that end up giving more power to the shadow.
Absolutely.
So what I ended up discovering, and I discovered through the paradoxical Heka, is that the shadow ends up being the fuel for your transformation. You don't fight it, you integrate it.
Yes. Okay. I agree with you 1000%. And also, I have to tell you this, this is why I don't have a lot of men on my show, because they don't hit that point. They really, a lot of the men that been approached by really do a lot of bypassing. And so I'm really careful about messaging on this show. So I just don't accept them very often. So I'm not saying you have to feel like all esteemed and happy because I was willing to accept you, but I am saying I want to validate what you're saying, that, like, yes, the shadow side has to be dealt with. But when you say integrate, can you explain that a little bit? Because I'm not great. Because this is the way I would say it, is like, you understand it's not a weakness, it's a strength, and that this is a part of you and it's part of your magic. But that doesn't always translate when someone's in the
Right.
dark. You know what I mean? How would you say it?
Yeah, so this is the way I talk about that, and I have to give a little frame here, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So it is really the ancient idea of ontology, okay? And ontology is just simply the study of being, okay? Who
Okay.
am I? Okay? And a lot of times we in our society today, we operate from an ontology of brokenness. Okay.
Mm.
You need from if whether it's religion, I'm a born sinner and I'm unworthy, I'm a wretch. Whether it's psychology, where it's trying to fix, the past and what happened to you and what the problems it's causing now. Medicine, where disease is something you fight, blah blah blah. Okay. So all of those different areas operate from this ontology that something's wrong with us. Okay. But from a metaphysics perspective, it's not something that's wrong with you because essentially you are the divine expressing itself in human form. However, at times you can become misaligned with the universe and the universal laws. So the universe is about staying in balance and order. Okay. That's from a metaphysics perspective, that's my eye. You stay in balance and order. But what happens is as humans, our fears, our doubts, things like that can really cause us to get out of balance. Well, how do you get back? The shadow is the part that is misaligned. Okay, so that's how I would define the shadow. It's a misalignment with your order and balance, which from
And
a
the part
soul
you don't
perspective.
see, right?
The what now?
And it's also the part you're not really seeing.
Well, from a metaphysics perspective, the you see everything because it is a reflection, but you might not be consciously aware of it.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, so that's the difference. The shadow is only hidden because you don't see it, not because it's not visible.
Right.
Okay, you just
Okay.
might not be aware of it. Okay,
Okay. I
so
like the
so
way you word
that's
that. Yeah.
that's how we deal with that. But with from a paradoxical perspective, when we're talking about we're all the essence of the creator being expressed in human form, well, that means that as the creator, it is this and that. That's the paradox. Okay, it's not this or that because everything exists and everything that exists is valid. Okay, so it's this and that. That's the paradox. But what we will do in our society is we will try to subdue the shadow.
Mhm.
So we want to contradict it. We want to say it is either I'm good or I'm not. But the real deal is that you are the creator. You are the essence in human form. So it's not a matter of being good or not. It's a matter of being balanced and aligned. How do you do that? And you can actually use the shadow to help you to align when you go through the idea of paradoxical heka. Okay, and this is what I mean by that is that heka is the ancient Egyptian idea that sound becomes form. Okay,
Okay.
and you can actually speak that and speak form into existence. That's how thoughts become things. Okay, Now, I don't know. Did you grow up Christian,
I
Melissa?
did. Yeah.
Okay. So, have you ever heard the verse in John 1 1? In the beginning was the Word was God, and the Word was with God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That is a statement of the ancient idea that sound is the essence of creation. The word, or the logos, as the Greeks called it, is the idea that there is a speech that's not necessarily audible sound, okay, but there is a sound that creates the form in all things. So from a science perspective, when we're talking about the shadow, what we can do is actually honor the shadow. Okay, so for instance, like one of the things I've always dealt with, Melissa, is just especially like through dating. Okay, I've dealt with the idea of money and abundance. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so from that perspective, if I'm having a flare up, an imbalance around money, then I can say, even though I might feel my worth is based on my money, my essence is whole and abundant. Okay. I just honored the what we would call the shadow, and then I stated the truth. Those two are the paradox. Okay.
Yeah.
So I stated them both in one breath. Okay. In one breath, I stated that. But what happens is rather than you giving fuel to the paradox, you're actually um, reconciling the paradox with the truth, and then you're creating a third thing, which is going to be that inner peace.
When it comes to delivering flowers for life's special occasions, trust the name that's been setting the standard for nearly 50 years. 1-800-Flowers.com. From breathtaking bouquets to one-of-a-kind arrangements, 1-800-Flowers is your authority on quality blooms. Always fresh, always stunning, always delivered with care. And right now, for a limited time, you can save up to 40% off your bouquet and make someone's day. Save up to 40% off today at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming from an ontology of brokenness, you don't have a need to fight the shadow. You actually use it as fuel, even though I might feel like my money is based on my worth is based on my money. Okay. You're stating it, you're acknowledging it, and you're honoring it. My essence is still whole and abundant. And when you state those both together, and it's using breath work as well, when you state those both together, it creates a third thing that actually reconciles both and becomes a place of peace for you.
Yeah. And is that a frequency?
It's part of frequency, yes. Great
Okay.
question. Because it is the underlying deal is that you're literally recalibrating your energetic system. Okay.
Because you're
Now,
not just trying to resist your shadow and say, no, 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 no. And in some ways, even if you were to think of it in a more emotional place instead of a metaphysical place, it really is just the idea of resistance keeps you stuck, so look at things in the face, and even the parts stuff that we've learned about, just like honoring all parts of you instead of
yes,
trying to exile them. So
bingo,
yeah, I love that. I love that. And
bingo.
I'm
You're
only
you're
saying that for
honoring the
people
whole
who
you.
aren't here with us yet. You know what I mean?
What's that now?
I'm only making the distinction for people who have not really gotten fully integrated into metaphysics and they need a more psychological perspective to help them understand. So I'm right there with you. I love this.
Yeah, yeah, and please do that. So you know your audience, and if you need me to couch that in another way, I'd love to do it. Love to be able to do it. So just ask the questions, and I can teach it the way you need me to do that. And that's again, it's just part of me being the scientist. I need processes, and
Mhm.
this is actually ancient technology. Okay, and this is how I can confirm that. Okay, is that, are you familiar with the medical emblem of a caduceus?
Is
Well, you
that
see
the
the two snakes.
yes.
Okay, so that's actually an ancient symbol for the process of what I just gave you through paradoxical Hecka. So
Oh.
what happens is these the two serpents are actually they can be symbolic. It's more the symbol is more than one level, but on one level it is actually our spinal cord and our nervous system. Okay,
Oh.
so the middle I guess the pylon, I don't know what I could call it, but that the snakes are wrapping around, that's
Yeah.
actually our spinal cord. Our spinal cord, and
Wow.
these serpents are our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous system actually going up around that spinal system. But
Yeah.
if you'll notice, they are not fighting each other.
Mhm.
Okay. And then at the top, you have wings and a globe, which represents higher knowledge and enlightenment as the sun coming into the day. Okay, was what the ancient Egyptians called it, coming forth by day or coming into enlightenment. Okay, but another term that you hear people say is Kundalini. It's the Kundalini
Yeah.
rising. Okay,
Okay,
it's the
I've heard so much about Kundalini, but only only in one context.
Well, this is these ancient terms that people they'll throw around, but they end up having no meaning. Okay, and
Yeah.
this is how and if you need to stop me because I can go. I want to go to one of these terms that we use a lot of times, like surrender. Okay,
Yeah.
you hear people say surrender, and for most of us that have heard that, we've heard that term in the context of it's just being passive. You're just
Yeah.
like, oh, just let go, accept. That's another same kind of word. Just accept this, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
What's another term I've heard? I've heard Abraham Hicks. And I'm not knocking this stuff. I'm just saying I'm giving another perspective, and I like to go through the science of it. But
Yeah, please.
Abraham Hicks, I don't know if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks,
I
but
just heard someone reference him this week. I don't remember. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head who he is.
okay. Well, they are a channel. So it's an Abraham and Esther Hicks is it, but they're a channel. But she uses the term law of allowance. Okay,
Okay.
and so when we're talking about the idea of surrender, it's actually an active process, and that process is weaving your nervous system up that spinal column. Okay, and what I just talked about was instead of surrender, it becomes a place where you end up bringing into yourself inner peace. So rather than fight one side or the other
Mhm.
or overcompensate with positivity, or fight and try to ignore or bypass the negativity, then you honor the shadow and speak the truth, and then you create that third place of peace, which is your place of surrender.
Can I ask you for okay. I don't think it's a coincidence that we're having this conversation at this moment because just yesterday I was reading, God, I don't even remember what, but something about surrender. And I was thinking because I've been on a little bit of a journey and I was thinking okay, I feel like I am doing a fairly good job at surrendering, but something stopped me and I asked myself, but what is surrendering? That's why I'm like, oh, you're so meant to be speaking to today. But
Isn't that funny how that works, though?
it always does too. It
Yep.
always does.
When you need it, it
Right when
comes.
you said the word, I was like, "Ooh, I already know." So I was like, "All right, I'm just gonna ask you then." So, let's make this about me for a second. So, I'm on this entrepreneurial journey and I'm
Mm-hmm.
creating and I'm doing the things. And haven't seen the level of financial success that I would like to yet, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's been
Mm-hmm.
a process of of integrating a lot of this learning. But yesterday I was thinking about what surrender meant, and I was like, but I feel like I have. But there was something that I couldn't identify, being like, maybe not, and I think for me, what started as surrender, or what my idea of surrender was in the beginning, was a full belief, maybe like delusional even, it's all going to be exactly the way I think. And then I
Right.
started to realize, like, it will come to you, but not necessarily in the way that you thought it would. So then there was surrender in more of like a hopeless kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, if I'm being honest, that was a theme of that surrender, even though I think I'm probably just admitting that to myself for the first time now. But
Mm-hmm.
there was a theme of hopelessness there, even as recently as like a week or two ago, to where I was like, maybe that's just not like meant for me, or blah blah blah. Just
Mm. Mm.
you know what I'm talking about. And
I'm
I
on
don't
your
think
journey
that's
too.
surrender.
so,
Welcome.
so
But I don't think
you're
that's surrender,
talking
right?
to the king of this journey.
Okay, thank you for your vulnerability too. But yeah,
Uh,
I don't think that's the surrender, right? Like, I think that was a
no.
form, but that's not like what I'm after. So is it the balance of those two? The delusion and the what's meant for me will be? What tell me about
And
how I'm
see,
not surrendering correctly, please.
yeah, so and it's not a correct. So I don't want to couch it in, because again, in the paradox is this and that. All experience is valid. It's just a matter of if this is experience that you want. And if you want something different, then you have to do something different. You know?
Right.
So
Yes.
that's where I'm coming from. So nobody's wrong, nobody's right. If everywhere this in the this side, in the middle, or the other side, every experience is valid. It is this and that. That is the source in all forms. The source does
Yeah.
not.
Whenever I need to send roses that are guaranteed to make someone's day, the only place I trust is 1-800-Flowers.com. With 1-800-Flowers, my friends and family always receive stunning, high-quality bouquets that they absolutely love. Right now, when you buy a dozen multicolored roses, 1-800-Flowers will double your bouquet to 2 dozen roses. To claim this special double roses offer, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
Exists. Okay. So in this sense, the surrender becomes a usually for us as entrepreneurs, because we go through all of these different mindsets that we have to deal with all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're usually trying to bypass, or we're trying to ignore. And when I say
Yep.
bypass, I mean the shadow. So we're
Yep.
trying to bypass it or ignore it, one way or the other. But we've
Probably a little
never
both
had.
for me.
No, that's what we do. That's it's natural and normal for us in the ontology of brokenness. Okay?
Yeah.
But the deal is, you are whole, but you might be off balance or out of resonance with your source self, because your source self knows. Okay? But we've never really had a process that I know of where you can actually use surrender as a tool, as a process. So when what you were talking about earlier, you were even going into hopelessness, okay, which was meaning that you were surrendering to it's hopeless, and you're surrendering to the shadow in a sense,
Mhm.
okay, or you were trying to bypass it, okay. Neither one, and probably what you found, and tell me if I'm right or wrong here. What you found is that neither one of them worked.
Yeah. Well, if I'm gonna be 1,000% honest, I have gotten the reflection of what my thoughts were, which is a lot of ups and downs, or
Yes.
as you know what I mean. So that's where I started to make the connection of, you're doing this to yourself, because my belief really was, every time something starts to go good, I will crash again and then have to learn something new or whatever.
There
I
you go.
understand that I will have trials in this lifetime. I understand that. But I also feel like I'm pushing out those beliefs and that's what I'm getting back.
Yeah, yeah. And see, and this is and what you said was so beautiful because we can take that and we can reconcile it. Okay?
Mhm.
So when you're believing, because and just like you, I have had my ups and downs, and I have failed miserably. Well, I won't even say fail. I've crashed miserably. Okay.
Perfect. Yep.
Okay. So that becomes a fear in itself. Even when you're up,
Yes.
you're like, okay, well, where is the crash gonna happen?
Yes, it's so hard to even feel the right level of gratitude in those moments because I'm
Yes.
waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Bingo. Bingo. Then what we normally do is we try to say some affirmations, okay? And bypass the shadow,
Mhm.
okay? Or we get scared and then we start to get grounded in the shadow. We start to dredging up all of that negativity that can come up.
Mhm.
Then we'll notice, we'll stop, and then we try to figure out another way to bypass it. Okay?
It's so true.
Okay, hey, trust me. I know. Okay? So
Bypassing is
so
so easy though.
it's right, right. But the problem is it comes back.
It sure do. Why?
Okay? So that's where we have to so what I have discovered with paradoxical Heka is that I can honor the shadow, I can honor the fears, I can honor the doubts, and then speak the truth with it. Okay? And then it creates that peace.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
And
like you have it's what I would call like a trinity. Essentially, is what it is.
Mhm.
You have the fear, then you have the truth, and then it creates the peace.
Yeah.
Okay,
Which
so
I
so that's how
totally,
you would
like,
do that.
agree with because, I know, since I someone had mentioned on here, like, we love affirmations, but if you don't believe it, you're just affirming a lie, and so rather than
Bingo.
to do, like, invoking or decreeing, and as I've been teaching clients about that too, every time I even go to explain the concept, the energy changes, like, I mean, I feel different just explaining it. Like before we ever even get into the work of an invocation or a decree, just telling them the difference between an affirmation and this, the empowerment I feel.
Yes.
So that's how
Bingo.
I can absolutely see, acknowledge, like, hey, I know that my human self feels this right now or is afraid of this, but what I know to be true is this, and let that
Bingo.
alchemize. Like,
Yes.
how could
And
you go
what that
wrong?
does, it actually alchemizes into that peace. That is actually what it ends up doing, is that it alchemizes and recalibrates your energetic system. Then there's
Yeah.
other parts you can add to this that can make it a somatic experience,
Oh,
where you
yeah.
can that you can anchor it into your system. And what I've noticed, Melissa, is that as I do these not affirmations, but the rituals and the paradoxical statements, is that you'll know that it's working because you'll start to get chills and tingles.
Mhm.
Okay, so physically, that is the signal that something is happening.
Yeah.
You literally so again, this is just going to the science. I'm
Yeah.
giving steps as to what's happening, and so
Yeah.
you can know what's happening. That when it's working, it's working. And you're gonna get some chills. You might get
Mhm.
tingles or whatever it might be. Like when you're listening to some good music and you just like feel it all over, you
Yeah.
know. And we've all had that spontaneous
Uh-huh.
experience. It's the same thing that's happening. Okay? Same thing. But now there is a process with this that you can actually engineer this for people. Because even if you think about when we're going through these difficulties, that a lot of times when they do reconcile, if they reconcile, does the reconcile so, and let me just use an example. This will be better. say a person that has lost a loved one is going through grief, okay? And they might psychologically deal with grief for years over their loved one, okay? But at some point, those who move through it end up reconciling the grief with something else that creates the peace within them. Okay? That's the process of how any of us that gets over the grief or get over the pain, we psychologically reconcile it in some kind of way to where it can end up bringing us that inner peace.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, my question is this. Does that inner peace happen in years or does it happen in an instant? And if you think about it, we might wrestle with it for years, but once we
Yeah.
make the realization, it's instantaneous that your peace comes and then you can live from that place.
Yeah.
So again, with this idea, you can actually engineer that. You can actually engineer this change with clients or whoever in an instant
Yeah.
because you have a process. Okay, and it's an ancient process that many of the what we end up getting through a lot of the ancient texts is what I would call the Cliff Notes version. You know, they might give you a nice pithy saying or whatever, but you really don't have the process to get you to the point that they're talking about. But
Right.
the Kundalini, what do you call them? The Kundalini serpents or the snakes. Okay, that's the process. And then I don't know if you've heard of the Hermetic Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, I have the book and I haven't read it yet.
Okay, okay, no. Well, the Philosopher's Stone is the actual state that you reach once you've reconciled.
Oh.
Okay, and if from a Christian perspective, it is actually the idea of becoming a Christ.
Is
Same
this what they
idea,
mean when
just
they say
said different
Christ
ways.
consciousness?
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo. So the paradoxical Heka is the process that helps you to reach that state of consciousness, that state of peace within.
And so, okay, knowing these things, but also knowing that we are sent here to have a human experience and we're going to live in our humanness sometimes, a lot of times. How do you balance our humanity with our expanded consciousness? How do you personally, do you just, you got hygiene where you get into it and then you go about your day and like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there have been times when I wasn't anchored enough into the human experience, and because it can be a form of bypassing to just be like, "I'm a soul." You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And be a little
yeah,
more flighty in that way.
yeah.
But I'm trying so hard to have that balance and to stay rooted but tethered. You know what I mean? And
No,
so
I think I
how
know
do
what you're
you
saying.
personally strike that balance?
So in other words, if I might try to state it another way,
Absolutely.
how do you live within your state, your Christ state, and still recognize what's happening in the world and what's happening around you, to where
Mhm.
you're not just being out of touch with reality.
Right. Yeah,
Okay?
I don't wanna wander off into psychosis, you know what I'm saying?
Bingo, bingo. There you go. There you go. And understood. Okay. But this is the thing is a lot of times we do the way that we have practiced these ideas, we are looking at them as two separate things, okay? As
Mhm.
if being human and being spiritual is two different things. But you are a human having a spiritual experience, and you cannot become more spiritual without going through your physical expression first.
Mhm.
So life becomes the mirror and life becomes the impetus, and your shadows literally become the fuel for your transformation. So life might throw something at you that triggers you. What do you do with that? How do you reconcile it? Okay. So, in that sense, life is not separate from who you're being.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in those moments, that's when you recognize how you can recognize how you can reconcile the experience to where you still gain your peace. So you're not bypassing life, you're seeing life as it comes, and you're having life help you to transform you from within.
Okay. I like that a lot because I don't know how far into the woo you are, but I'm just going to tell you this. I was last night I was
I'm deep in it.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So last night I was I don't even know what I was doing. I don't remember if I was reading something, listening to something or what. But the concept of the afterlife and the review of your human experience
Hmm.
came up.
Love
And
it.
and I feel bad saying this, but I was thinking, I'm so glad I didn't die before I reached like this level of consciousness because I would have had so many regrets. I'm closer now to where not that I wanna die, but, like, if I did, I feel like I at least got most of what I was supposed to get
Okay.
before I died. Like, that's where I'm at
Hmm.
right now is that, like, I know the way I impact others. I realized the way I was allowing myself to impact me and blaming it on others, like,
Hmm.
I really work so hard on my victim consciousness, but, like, I I feel like what you just said is really, like, conjunct with that because as I've had these really tough experiences and I just deal with them as they come, and then there's always this new spiritual growth that comes with it too because you do get to become more enlightened with each one. It's such it's confirmation because it's not just a good feeling, it's confirmation every time, like, I am having a human experience and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing here, which I think really more is our purpose than the things that we feel led to do. Like I have always believed my purpose was to, in essence, alchemize pain, to go through pain, to understand it and then to share with others how I got through it. That's what I
Yes.
have felt is my purpose since I was 4 years old and have had that
Beautiful.
reconfirmed over and over and over. But if I were to simplify it really, like, yes, that I kind of think that's what we're all here to do is to share our light with each other and like, hey, this is how I got mine. How'd you get yours? Let's put our lights together, whatever. But also more than that is just like loving yourself no matter what, understanding it all has a purpose, that, like, it's all magic. There's
I
nothing we
love it.
gotta hate about ourselves, and that we are just supposed to learn. Just be a
Yes.
human. Learn and be
Yes.
a human and bring forth the new earth. You know what I mean? Like, let's just keep on trucking along. So that's where I've really
Bingo.
gotten into all of that.
Bingo. No, and you say it beautifully. You stated it beautifully, and I like to can I go a little bit deeper with that? As far
Absolutely.
as so as far as the metaphysical science of it, okay, and the ancient science. So the ancient Egyptians had a ceremony that they call the weighing of the heart.
Okay.
Okay. And what it did is, and it's an afterlife ceremony that many people have seen passed around on the internet and stuff like that. You can look it up, but they usually
Yeah.
give some what I call just the regurgitated stuff. They really don't really get to the essence of it. But the weighing of the heart in the afterlife experience, and you've probably heard it called the afterlife review or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So in a lot of instances, what we will do is we will couch it in the context of something moralistic. Okay. In
Mhm.
other words, have you been a good person? Have you been a bad person? Okay. But as souls, we incarnate thousands of times. And sometimes we play the good guy or good gal. Sometimes we play the bad guy or bad gal in somebody else's experience. Here's the crazy part. If you played a good bad guy, you played your part the way you were supposed to play it as a soul, and that was a good thing. Okay. Or
Yeah.
I say good, it means that you did
You
what you were
fulfilled your
supposed to do.
purpose.
You
Yeah.
fulfilled your purpose. You
Yeah.
and what I would call it, the anti-hero, or the what's another word that we can use for someone, the guy, the person that's playing the bad person in the movies.
Antagonist?
Antagonist. Thank you. Thank you. So if we were a good antagonist that caused that other individual to elevate because they went through the pain, they
Mhm.
alchemized it, and they became a better individual because they alchemized the pain that you put in front of them, then you did your job in their life,
Okay.
in their life.
Yeah.
Okay? So, but this is the other part of that. This is where it's going a little deeper. Is that every moment we are living through the essence of our being and the essence of being joyful in who we are in every moment. We're literally upgrading the consciousness of the universe, and we're uploading our being to merge with the all, the consciousness of the universe. And when somebody reaches that level or that vibrational essence, that level that you're at, they have the ability to download your knowledge and experience in order to enlighten them and enlighten them through their experience. So even though we're here talking on this podcast, it is us being who we are that is actually being uploaded to the layer of consciousness, what people might call the Akashic records. Okay, we're uploading
Okay.
this to the Akashic records, and then people can actually download the experience when they're ready. That's how we
Okay.
impact the world. That's how we literally impact the universe. Is when we're in every moment, we're living in the joy of our beingness. Not trying to I'm a teacher. I love teaching. I love educating. That's what I love doing. That's when I'm operating in my essence of beingness. Okay. And when I'm doing that, I am being the highest form of who I am. And in
Yeah.
those moments that I'm doing that, that's when I am broadcasting to the universe. And I am literally seeding consciousness. And people can take that, download it, and then unpack it for what it means in their life. That's the same thing you do with this podcast.
Okay. I've heard of the Akashic Records. I never knew what the hell they were talking about. So that's really cool. Man, I have a lot of studying to do.
It
I
gets
this is
deep and
amazing.
fascinating.
Yes. I mean, because that's the thing is that like uh I kind of stumbled upon spirituality, truly. Like there was some parts of it that I had always felt called to, but really it was through astrology and feeling like, okay, so if this is a blueprint, I like that was the starting point for me
Yeah.
where then I started knowing things without knowing, and then I would hear
Yes.
the actual truth of what it was and be like, okay, I knew that, but here's this thing, you know? Like I'd go seeking the information in a book so that I would have a source for it because I would know it, but I wouldn't know where the hell it came from, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Like
I know
truly,
exactly what you're saying. It's,
yeah, it
it's
was
what I
so
call getting
wild.
downloads, because it's like you can get the knowledge in a split second, but it might take you 10 or 15 minutes to explain what you downloaded in a split second to somebody else.
Yes, every time. And that's why even like with you, like I'm like, okay, I mean, well, some of it's because my brain's very tired today, but like I'm like, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna keep on because I mean, you do get it, you know, but I love this and I'm really excited to continue to learn this stuff. Before we wrap up, I've man, I feel like I gotta have you back on.
Oh, hey,
But
anytime. Just
okay,
ask me,
cool.
because this stuff goes way deeper. We can talk about after death. We can talk about life between lives. We can talk about astrology. Whatever it is, it's all connected. And I love talking
Yes.
about all of it, because we take these little parts, but when you start to putting them all together and they form this tapestry of
Yeah.
consciousness, man, it is so beautiful and powerful.
I love it. What would you like to leave our listeners with?
The thing I would love to leave listeners with is the idea that they really create life. We're all co-creators in this experience. And what you want to do is you want to live life on your terms. Create life on your terms. Because what ends up happening is society will create all of these rules. They'll create this box that we're supposed to live within to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it ends up being limitations. Okay? You don't want a box. What I like to say is understand your spiritual experience, understand your human experience from a spiritual foundation, and you actually build a foundation that you can start to build on. So you're not living in somebody's box. You're building from a foundation where you can expand. You are a seed of the infinite that can expand infinitely. Create life on your terms, live life through your joy. That's the bottom line.
I love that. Before we go, I have to tell you, at the beginning of the year for like New Year's resolutions or whatever, instead of resolutions, I did just some concepts, like, and the whole idea was I want to spend this year, and I wrote this somewhere, building a foundation. That's what I said, that I want to spend this year building a foundation. So then, hey, I just think
I
that's
love
crazy.
it.
So I thought you'd like to know that.
I love the synchronicities. You're
I
just telling me
know.
about these synchronicities. I love that because I have that happen too. Same
I
thing.
love it. I love it. And I always know like people are so meant for this energy, you know, because I put it out there when I started the show, send me the people meant for me, you know? And that's why like I'm getting more comfortable being like, y'all, this show really is about me. Like it really is. This is my journey. And like sometimes we share professional knowledge and sometimes I'm just the student and I'm okay with
Yep.
that. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Man, I
Yep.
have loved having you. I'm for real gonna have you on again. Thank you so much. I'm about to hit stop, but if you'll hang out for 1 second to let it finish
Okay.
uploading.
Love being here. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Emotionally unavailable.
Hey, make sure you've given the show a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to if you haven't already. And check out my website, empoweredwithmelissahepner.org, or my link tree on Instagram at melissa.hepner to check out my latest offers or workshops. All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming.
Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.